Here's a demo for the second round of playoffs Viaduct match between Corn Ducks and MTN. Looks like they have two scouts, but here we go. Their scout just starts running behind. Your soldier bomb's in here. It looks like he's going more for behind rather than what on hell is Battle doing. I guess in future rounds, if they're sending so many players behind, I guess I need to change that. But with how they were playing that mid, they had several players passive to do with your soldier flank behind, so I guess they had gotten info on how you'd be playing the map. One thing you could try is just doing coordinated aggression just straight across the point and just crushing them, because if their heavy is not there and they had like 2 or 3 classes chasing them, you guys likely would have been able to just wipe the floor if you just plus forwarded into their demo and medic. So that's definitely something to try if the team you play next does a similar strategy, but you guys keep it together and manage to win mid despite them like doing their very best to hard counter. You guys kite through within re as well. Here, usually holding right here as a medic, it's a little bit harder to get heals out to people sort of across the point, so it's harder for you guys to contest everywhere. That's why usually I like playing sort of more behind the rock and sort of backing up through main. It does sort of expose you to spies clicking main, but I think it provides like a better overall way to fight the point while you're holding, and then also sets up your sniper to be able to get healed and snipe from rock very effectively, as well as like you can run to China, you can still heal him and can still just play on this side here, which is very strong, especially with the Machina. But yeah, in that situation, I just recommend trying to hold your combo behind the rock. Your med can just sort of sit here, it's back against the wall. That's something Kozin did in Season 12 that worked out really well. They would just have him sit here, the heavy Arthur would just sit right here and just totally lock down the spy, and then the med could just dish out heals to everybody else, and they would deal with people pushing the point. And that worked really well for them. They beat MTS, I think, like 3-1, 2 best of 3s in a row on Viaduct. It worked very well for DK when we tried a similar thing in Season 13. So that's something you guys could try when holding on Thursday. And then in the finals, assuming you make it there. Because it pretty much forces them to come to you and sets up your sniper to get kills as they push. And your sniper will be buffed with a Machina, so it'll be very hard for him to get counter-sniped. Heavy on Cliff as well, it's a little bit harder to contest the point. It's pretty good if you're just going for a passive setup, but me personally, I've never been a fan. People like Kresnik like to use it. It can work depending on what's going on. Usually, I find it best to go up there when you know they're going to be pushing with like a big advantage, and you just need to sort of delay for a second for you guys to get Uber, or delay and just sort of contest the point lightly without actually committing your life to it. Then going on Cliff can be pretty good. But it's just sort of like when you know they're pushing for sure, they're going to be pushing fast, then go on Cliff because you can avoid damage. Or if you know there's going to be like an Uber exchange and you want to be full health to come in post Uber, going on Cliff can be very, very good. But in general, I like playing behind the rock because it lets me contest everything and watch for spies more effectively. Here you do a good job of sort of pushing them off, but it's only your heavy forward right now. Look like you guys are just a little bit fractured there, and that let them sort of capture the point initially and then get picks on the people who are trying to recap. I'm not sure exactly when you guys could Uber, but if you guys had Uber when they were doing their sort of initial push to cap, what they did like 15 seconds ago, it's usually always best to just use it and block the point. sniper's on a 10k, so that's a very good job of him staying alive. Your soldier's getting the flank. Here should be an easy kite. Oh, that's unfortunate. He gets stabbed, but oh well. Your soldier's using the parachute. Seems just to make him an easier target for people trying to kill the soldier, but manage to kill your med. Usually, like, when you're losing a fight and you don't need to be in, it's perfectly fine to just back out to spawn to make sure you're fully safe and not just sort of sit by cliff, because then you are putting yourself at more risk. But just fully leaving to spawn is fine to do. Here, with how passive they are, dry pushing could be really effectively, especially with their med down. That could be why they're so passive, but just walking up since your demo spawned can likely get forward and get in quite effectively here. So none of them are buffed. You can try going aggressive and leveraging your buffs, or you can just try to take a sort of slow fight and leverage your heals. You guys do a good job of walking up on cliff to get close to the point without taking damage. It's a really smart play. Your spy coordinates the stab as you guys are pushing, so that's good as well. Another thing you guys did well there was you knew you guys are going to be pushing soon because you got that med pick, and you didn't have people running in and feeding, and you just made sure everybody was alive and ready to push. So that was very solid. Something to consider when there's such little time left. I guess you guys do have Ubers, this is fine, but if you don't have Ubers, something you could try is just playing really far forward and aggressive so they can't even get to point, and they're just sort of stuck on the low ground. And then you guys Uber in here. However, your heavy died before you popped. For like these scrappy post-Uber fights, having your heavy alive is very, very strong. Regardless, you're going to win this round. It's possibly just trying to use Uber sooner before you have to back up so far, and just making sure you keep your heavy tanked and alive will just sort of guarantee those post fights, because if you have a 450 heavy on point, it's just going to destroy everything. Your demo jumps aggressive on mid, spamming them out. Sort of trades damage with their demo. Looks like their heavy was cliff again. Something to think about when their med or their soldiers bombing aggro like that is just make sure your energy drops the mini instantly, and your heavy just sort of revs up and is just like, even if they rev up back here, but just making sure that they're 100% ready for the soldier bomb and is completely ready to shut that down. Another thing that your med can try is just sort of rolling out and just being really passive and far back for the initial fight until they see the soldier. Oftentimes backing up through main can be pretty strong against the soldier because it's sort of a small way that you can slink away from. So you could try coming out and then sort of playing down by the side. Usually easier to shut down the bomb. Regardless, you guys work picks and you get positioning and manage to get the cap. Here with advantage, you guys seem to be clumping up around the dispenser too much. It's not as big of an issue when the dispenser's behind the rock and you're clumping up, but when you're sort of clumped up here, it's really hard for you guys to contest the point, because if you're going to be peeking, all the sniper has to do is be at China or way back, staring up at you guys. And then as well, if the soldier's bombing straight over, the heavy on cliff can't see him until he's almost right on top of you guys. So I guess trying to change up your hold and sort of playing more behind rock could really help you guys out. If you guys want the heavy on cliff, that's fine. Just something to try would be having your pyro be really focused on the spy decloaking in main. What we started doing is sort of an adaptation of what Gentleman's Club did in Season 12, and then what Candy does. We would have our soldier and pyro just focus on that tunnel, and our soldiers just be passive spamming and just sort of being a nuisance and not letting things get through the tunnel along with our pyro. And then if we're winning the fight, if their flank dies, you can just walk up and spam straight into their combo. That's just sort of a small thing your flank can do. But then they'll be locking down the tunnel, and it'll be safer for your combo to hold behind rock. Here with even Ubers and the time advantage, you want to just make sure people aren't getting picked here. Your NG was going a little too aggro, and same with your scout. Should have just been waiting for the spawns, being ready to come back in. Here they really don't have anything forward besides the sniper and rock, so you could have tried to hold that Uber. Instead you have to commit really far forward to get the force, and you have to pop really early, which leads to your med dying, and then the post fight's just going to go in their favor when they get a pop so late for free without having a ton of damage dealt to them. Average is good, but I think you cap before your demo died. I'm not totally sure, but that just sets them up to repush immediately. So just trying to get in farther without Ubering. If you go off cliff, it's a little safer. I think you guys did that. Sniper rock is pretty hard to deal with. Something you could try is just having your spy go China and ambi headshotting the sniper just to distract him and then walking in. That's pretty dang hard to coordinate. Another thing you could try is just tanking your sniper and letting him get a counter snipe out. Or just like a pick on the demo and then being able to sort of flood in. So just sort of slowing the game down and setting up your sniper to get a pick is something you can try. But something that's given DK problems in the past is just popping early and then having really bad Uber exchanges over and over again. Here you guys get far forward, their med doesn't run away, so you should clean their med up. Here it's just all out, protects your med. Everyone should be close, but Heavy's eating a sandwich. Other people aren't fully committed to protecting him. And then your med gets cleaned up. Scout did a good job with that Uber, killing the med, killing the demo. Here it's just pretty much you need your pick classes to do something special as they're coming in, or something you can try is just really focus firing hard on the people who are overextending initially here in this push, and just trying to get a few player advantage. But your options are, ooh, your soldier gets a nice 2K. That situation, like right after that 2K there, would be a good chance for your team to just push forward aggressively. But here it looks like it's just your Heavy alone and your demo partially alone here. It just gets rushed by a scout. And their sniper is just sort of on that side, locking out your med. So they're just coming through behind rock. Could have been good again. But as soon as you got those 2 picks from your soldier, you could have tried to sort of out-aggressing them and just crushing them before they got a chance to cap or get over themselves. Another thing with how they're holding over here, just sort of clumped up as well, instead of coming off cliff, you could try walking through main because you're mostly out of sight from them, as he can get up onto them pretty quickly without them noticing. There you guys do a good job of dropping the mini and having your heavy ready for their soldier, shutting them down immediately. Looks like your soldier was just sort of playing tunnel that mid. Guys do a good job of sort of all edging forward together. You get point presence and cap time. But it seems like you guys aren't really focusing fire here. So I guess something your demo or whoever's just sort of getting aggressive first, something they could call is just, if they do damage to someone, just focus it, or if they see someone overextending, just focus them down. Because making sure you're all shooting the same thing is very, very key. It's just getting that quick kill on the demo, quick kill on the heavy. Very good. Because here, your team knows they need to be behind a rock to actually contest, but your med's sort of just sitting under here. I guess you guys did have Uber, so your med's just being extra careful, but here in the post-Uber fight, your soldier sort of chases too aggressively. Your scout's a little bit too aggressive. I guess they're all hurt, but usually it's best to just sort of be safe, be defensive in the post-super fight, and just sort of play point, because then you know you have high ground and you know you have numbers if you're sort of blobbed by the point. But going aggressive like that, sometimes it can work out, but oftentimes you'll end up just bleeding players and dying. And you got Barry Center, I'm not going to body shot here. Here you guys got picked on your flank and were forced to back up. Again, you guys have to pop early off a cliff. You could try just waiting for your sniper to try to kill theirs, or to just get any pick, really. Here, there's still fighting sort of going on, so your heavy probably could have waited to back off. They have a lot of low health players, so heavy being sort of far forward could have done a lot of work there. It sort of seemed like your whole team as well just sort of backed off after the Uber exchange, even though your pyro did a good job of denying them. If you guys had sort of stuck to the point and played together there, they probably wouldn't have been able to recap, and you could have cleaned them up most likely. They're all sort of clumped up in the side here. Here it's only their demo and med walking forward, as your scout does a good job of sort of rushing forward. But didn't really need to commit, just needed to sort of slow them down. Here the supers trade, you just gotta make sure you get out immediately, keep your med alive. Because ultimately that's the main thing, to just trade Ubers, I suppose, buy some time. With their flank down like this, you guys could try immediately pushing, especially through main. You guys have been pushing cliff every single time, so rolling through main can be good just to catch them off guard. And because their flank's down, something I saw you guys doing in scrims really well was sort of pushing forward and having your flank just swarm through the tunnel and make space for your combo. I don't remember seeing that so far in the match, but that's something you guys could definitely try, especially when the team's sort of holding off on the side, or if they're just holding in the middle but with flank picks. Would definitely make pushing with your combo a lot easier and more effective. Before we don't get too much cap time or position, that's good. You don't really overextend, and you just sort of clean up kills. Your soldier gets struggled forward and dies. That's not too terrible. Here in this situation, when there's such little time, you definitely want to buff tank your heavy up to 450 and have them come forward. You guys do a good job of going forward with the rest of your team, but I think your heavy could have been a little more aggressive there. You guys win regardless, but I will end the first half of the video now, and then record and upload the rest later today.